Sally, she's been at a mall. I mean, this is kind of a mall.
Welcome to Decoding TV's coverage of The Chair Company. The Chair Company is the newest series from Tim Robinson and Zach Cannon of I Think You Should Leave fame. In the first episode of the show, William Ronald Trosper is a man who's in charge of the opening of a massive mall in Canton, Ohio. During a company event in front of dozens of employees, Ron's chair breaks apart, and Ron falls down embarrassingly in front of everyone. From that point forward, Ron desperately tries to hunt down information about Tekka, the mysterious company that makes the chairs. It soon becomes clear he risks uncovering a vast conspiracy of some kind, maybe. There are going to be 8 episodes of The Chair Company. Patrick Klepek and I have only seen the first one, but we're going to talk about our thoughts on Tim Robinson in general, as well as this show. Patrick, what do you think of the pilot of The Chair Company?
I love the first episode of The Chair Company. I think it's a really tricky / maybe not tricky, but interesting balance for the show to walk, in which I think comparing Tim Robinson to Nathan Fielder, or at least what they're both attempting to do with something like The Curse and something like The Chair Company, are similar, which is to take like sort of comedic, outlandish actors, performers, and then put them into something that has a lot of the aesthetics of something very self-serious and use that to their advantage. And
I wouldn't even say self-serious. I would say something like very generic and relatable and understandable, like The Office. Like I wouldn't say The Office is self-serious, but it's like they're in this office, right? And everyone in the office except for Tim Robinson is just like a regular person. There's nothing remarkable about them other than maybe the bubble guy, but like they're all very regular, average, everyday people. And then you have this guy in it who is very atypical. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Patrick. Go ahead.
But I think what I'm very interested to see what happens over the course of the show, because I don't think it's clear from the pilot, is in some ways you can feel Tim Robinson like repressing his cartoonish acceleration. Like a lot, I love his sketch comedy, but there is a very obvious arc to much of it, which is that he just shouts louder and louder and louder. And for some reason, his performance just gets funnier and funnier. He just has a way about him. It's different than Will Ferrell, but not too different. And like part of Will Ferrell, like at his height, he was just very funny to listen to him shout louder and louder. And Robinson has a similar arc to a lot of his characters. And that's here, but like, I think the show wants you to buy, like, this is a normal guy. He's not as cartoonish or as outlandish as he is in many of the sketches for what he does in his show. And so will that stick? Will it stay that way? Is that sort of, will he or won't he, or is he a cartoon character going to be part of what the show plays with across its 8-episode run? I don't know, but I am delighted and so excited to find out, because I'm both whatever. I guess I'm bought into the conspiracy or pseudo conspiracy or what if conspiracy of it all. But I love the way this is shot, like the way it layers tiny jokes, big jokes, and I think just it has all this the promise of a really fun, interesting show, and probably an easier pill to swallow as a recommendation than something like The Curse. The Curse, I thought it was brilliant in many ways. Really difficult to recommend to kind of anybody.
The closest comp would be his movie Friendship with Paul Rudd, I think.
Which is great. I loved that movie.
I loved it as well. But I do think this show is probably easier to recommend than even that. Because I think there are certain things about the show that are really conventional. It's like, guy uncovering conspiracy and so on. But anyway, sorry. Again,
I'm definitely with you. And I think what's in part of that sort of recommendation, even like the rehearsal, like, a lot of Fielder's work now feels like, well, if you're a Fielder fan, you're going to love this. But it's hard to sort of should I be recommending this to like those not already in the club? Like a new season of his television show, I'm not sure I'm going to recommend to somebody that doesn't already like Tim Robinson. The Chair Company feels like something like, You know what? I think I could recommend this to somebody that maybe even finds his sketch comedy too much or off-putting. There's a suppression level to this because it's trying to contain him is almost funny in and of itself, which makes the moments where it feels like it's turning into a sketch and like his traditional arc is coming out all the funnier, because it almost feels like it's leaking out of the show because it's kind of restraining itself. Anyway, it's a long way of saying I adored the pilot. The way it ends is incredible, and I cannot wait to watch. And I have no idea what's going. You could tell me, the curse, which I just think is an interesting point of comparison. You kind of felt like, yes, it dovetailed left to right, went in random directions, but like in many ways went through like traditional arcs, like over the course of it, and then has one really bonkers a finale. I have no idea what's going to happen over the course of this show. You could literally tell me anything and I would believe you, David.
Yeah. Overall, I am a huge fan of the show, and I agree with everything Patrick Klepek said. So, like, that's my overall brief review. I think it's funny that Tim Robinson likes setting shows / things in conventional suburban environments, and then his character is married to a beautiful brown-haired woman. Like Friendship, he's married to Kate Mara. He was able to pull Kate Mara in Friendship, and then Lake Bell, I think, in this show, right? And so it's like, he has a type in his shows. I think that what is brilliant about Tim Robinson's comedy is he takes scenarios where we experience awkwardness, right? And then just ramps up the awkwardness to 15, right? So a scenario where you're sitting in a chair in front of your coworkers and the chair breaks, and it's a little embarrassing, For most people, it's like, okay, well, that sucks, but the next day you probably, or 2 weeks later, you don't think about it anymore. This guy, his character, gets obsessed with, like, why did the chair break? Am I unsafe? Like, who is running this nefarious chair company? And that
he fills space. Tim Robinson, as an actor, as a comedian, fills space. Nathan Fielder exists in like the empty space, right? Like he is often quiet and allows things to happen around him, then chooses his moments. Tim Robinson is like a balloon that just keeps getting pumped up bigger and bigger. It's gonna pop, right? Like, nope, the balloon just keeps getting bigger until eventually, it does pop.
One of my favorite things about watching Tim Robinson's work is the setup of all of his sketches and this show and Friendship is all extremely mundane, right? It's all very, hey, these are, like I said, it's all just normal people, normal scenarios. Nothing's weird about it. And then something's going to happen that drives this guy off the edge. And it's always fascinating because it feels to me like Tim Robinson is always cosplaying because I've seen him in so many sketches, it always feels like he's cosplaying as a normal person, like without any issues. And then, of course, something, there's some indignity, and it causes him to completely spiral outward. But I have a lot of fun in the sections of the sketches before that happens, because it just feels like this is like an alien putting on a normal human suit for a little bit, and then he like rips the suit off when something bad happens. I can't ever get that idea out of my head. Now, this show, which again, I think Patrick and I both think is great. There's some really like great, fun, awkward scenarios that the show is able to generate. We'll comment on some of them, but it did raise a few big topics that I wanted to mention to you. One of them, Patrick Klepek, is there's this idea of an obsessed fan or an obsessed internet person. And I wanted to give, like, you and I have encountered this, and I wanted to give an example today here. I thought it might be fun to do a little show and tell here on the podcast.
Oh, okay, hit me.
And I hope this doesn't imperil me when I read this. Okay, so I don't know what this is. This could be like bot behavior. This could be like OpenAI running some kind of vast experiment. It could be some kind of spam, or it could be a human. Okay, so I got this email from somebody. I'm not going to say their name. Let's call them Eric. Okay, I got this email from Eric, and Eric wrote me this email, and I need you to imagine that in the to line is an email address, like I'll just say like decodingtv@gmail.com, and 50 other email addresses of various governmental and journalistic entities. So it's like decodingtv@gmail.com, CIA.gov, places like Time Magazine, like all these FBI, like all these other random places in various countries. Okay. And then the subject line reads, "Do you know humor as a war strategy?" The entire email is in Dutch, so I've translated it to English. Here's the email. "Hi, after a stressful moment, monkeys make a sound that resembles laughter to relax their muscles. Whatever your opponent is struggling with, a general principle is to release the stress and loosen your tense muscles after the danger has passed. For example, you relax through laughter. Relaxation is better for your body than constant stress. We may not know exactly what's going on, but if we know that we basically mean well, then I can always try to make you laugh regardless of our differences." And it goes on like that for a while, but that's basically the email. Why did somebody send this to 50 people? Why were they thinking this? It could be a spam thing, or it could be just somebody having this thought that they're obsessed with and they feel like they need to send it to someone. And I felt like watching the first episode of The Chair Company gave me access to who that kind of person might be, because the title of the episode is "Life Goes By Too Fucking Fast." It really does. And that is a YouTube comment that the main character makes on a YouTube video of like this song that reminds him of his family growing up. And you've probably encountered this, Patrick Klepek. Sometimes you'll go to a YouTube video and literally you'll see like a 5-paragraph, somebody's written their entire life story.
And it's from 12 years ago.
And it's from 12 years ago, and it's like, I was listening to this song when I got cancer, but then I got cured, but then I beat someone to death and I went to jail. And, and they're just like describing their whole thing.
I'll see everyone when I get out.
Right.
I'm out.
Yeah. And it's like, what would motivate someone to write something like this? Like, what is their mindset at the time? And this show answers that question. I know I've been going on for quite a while, Patrick. So I am curious, like, if you, first of all, A, do you agree with anything I've said? B, have you encountered any obsessive fans in your line of work?
Well, honestly, it was less about people I've encountered as fans of my work or anything like that, as much as the moment when you're just trying to get an answer to something. When we went to Europe this summer, we took a Eurostar train from London to Paris. So we took a train in London, and then we're transferring to a different train about halfway through that was supposed to drop us off in front of Disneyland Paris. And that was how we were going to surprise our kids who were going to Disneyland Paris.
Nice.
Well, there was a historic power outage during that stretch.
I remember that.
We got off of the train. Our train to Paris was canceled. And then I had to spend $500 to rent an expensive BMW to drive 3 hours through the French countryside to make it to Disneyland Paris. Well, when we got to Disneyland Paris, kids are asleep. I've got a drink. And I'm like, I'm going to get my refund. I'm going to figure out how I do that.
Right.
Well, again, got to remember, historic power outage. The websites are just not working. There are tens of thousands of people like descending on these websites trying to get so like I would get to a form, and the form's like, "We get it, bad day for everybody, like don't come back later, like just no, like we're just not even engaging with the refund process right now, there's too many people, come back when this is all settled down." So I looked at, but what's important is we bought the ticket through Eurostar, but they offer a package where you can get this transfer. They do not operate the other train. They sell you the ticket. They sell you the bundle. They do not operate the second ticket. The Eurostar train, when we got off, that train kept going to its destination in Belgium. The transfer is where things broke down because it was a power outage in Paris. So it was the transfer, the train operated by a different company that had the power outage. So I went to these, I'd go to the company that I waited like a week, and then I'm in Paris. I'm like, going to figure out this ticket. I'm going to ignore the fact that like the second company said you have to request your refund in 48 hours. Like, this was a historic event. I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to like actually claw that back, especially because the websites were breaking. Well, I was like, well, I'll go to the train company whose train broke down. Besides navigating like English, French, like trying to figure out the forms, the right languages, would submit the information as like, oh, actually that's operated by Eurostar. You got to go back to them. Okay. Go to Eurostar. Go to their customer service forum. Oh, you were on a transfer. Actually, you got to go to them in order to get the information. And I'm just going back and forth, submitting emails to random email addresses, filling out contact forms. Where do you go? I don't know. Eventually, was able to claw back like the $250 that we were owed for the canceled tickets. But I felt very seen in the mania that he was having, especially when he was telling the chat bot, like, go fuck yourself. I forget exactly what he said. But all he wants is an email address, a phone number to call to get a human being to respond to his query. And all I wanted was like, my tickets got canceled. I am owed a refund. It didn't happen automatically. Who do I have to yell at or calmly talk to? Because it's not their fault.
Basically, you are Ron Trosper, basically.
Yes, and I felt like I was like, go talk to that person. And so when I finally saw that refund go through my bank account like 3 days ago, it's like, I won for the tune of $239.99.
I think what you're saying is that there's something about the frustration of modern life, something essential about the frustration of modern life that the show captures, right? Which is
chatbots, especially. You ever try to talk to customer service?
Right, like trying to get someone, trying to find the right website, trying to get the right contact, like that.
Where is human? Where, like,
right? Yeah. I think separately, another big topic that comes to mind is he saying anything about the modern day workplace? Right, a lot of his sketches involve stuff that happens at work and awkwardness that's created at work. And I think that there is something to this idea of all the workplaces we see in Tim Robinson's sketches are, like I said, extremely mundane.
Yeah.
And I think he makes them very, very generic. And I wonder if there's something to the idea of like that people I'm going to say perhaps he finds the constraints of the modern workplace to be very wearing. You know, like that there's certain things, there's certain ways that you are expected to behave in the modern workplace that are unnatural, right? Like awkward stuff happens in the workplace. You're not supposed to comment on it. You're not supposed to say things about it.
The performance that happens in an office environment.
That's right. It's the elaborate performance. And then what Tim Robinson shows give us is the opportunity to see the humanity underneath the performance. That in reality, we're all just performing at work. We're all just putting on some version of ourselves. And then Tim Robinson asks the question, what if that mask slipped off just a little bit and we are allowed to be our true selves? There's something very beautiful and liberating about it, and also horrifying about it as well. What do you think, Patrick? Convincing?
No, I think you're right. I think sometimes it's hard to get back to the fact that is probably part of what informs a lot of Robinson's work, because the absurd ends that the sketches end in is like, you forget that's where we started. And that's what makes the Chair Company so fascinating, because the arc of a Tim Robinson sketch is to take the absurdity so far that not only are you uncomfortable, but there's nowhere for the sketch to go. Like you've stretched it as far as you can. Cut, new scenario begins. That's what makes, especially for Tim Robinson relative to Nathan Fielder, who the nature of like Nathan Is You, and like there's different setups, but there's also continuity over the course of an episode. That's not how Tim Robinson operates. It's what made Friendship unique. It's like, what is Tim Robinson as an actor over the course of 90 minutes? I don't think it's I don't think it's shocking that Friendship was directed, or rather the first episode of The Chair Company was directed by the same guy, I think it's Andrew DeYoung, who directed Friendship. So that there's a lot of shared DNA there in taking Tim Robinson as a actor, and what does it mean for him to be a character like this over an extended period of time. And so what the Chair Company has to constantly do, and I think it's why it has to pick its moments, is you can only stretch Tim Robinson so far, because he has to snap back. Like, part of what makes this show work, and
in order for it to be a serialized drama / comedy,
and to buy him as a person, right? Like he's just playing a bit, like maybe an extension of like someone you know, or a thing that's happened in real life that's relatable, pushed to the point of absurdity. But you got to buy into there's a reason a huge part of, I think the most important scene in this show, in the first episode, is the dinner scene with Lake Bell and Tim Robinson and their 2 kids, in which they have to establish that this is a real guy with real relationships, and they have genuine like people don't have genuine reactions in I Think You Should Leave. Like they become part of the bit. They have genuine.
I don't know. I don't think I agree with that, but like I think there's usually 1 or 2 people that are part of the bit.
Sure,
then,
but like the whole table is responding genuinely to what if someone. Yes, what if someone like you get the sense that this has happened before. Like they're used to like, oh dad, like like you're doing this again. And I bought it. That was the scene that crystallized what this show is going to try and I think accomplish over and over, is grounding Tim Robinson in the real world and then stretching that over a long period of time. That is a rich mine, like something to mine if you can pull it off. And I thought they pulled it off pretty well, and then picked their moments when they're like, we're going to let them riff, because there's so much improv associated with Tim Robinson. And I feel like you feel that at times in different scenes where it's like, just let them go, let them rip.
I do want to mention a couple of humorous scenes. I think that one of the great things about I Think You Should Leave is it captures common scenarios that many of us have found ourselves in, right? In the case of Chair Company, it's the opening scene that you discussed, Patrick, where somebody's giving a speech, and then the waitress, I think, feels the need to interrupt at that moment. It's like, why would you interrupt at that moment? That's very awkward. I love the idea of this maintenance guy being paranoid about his wheelbarrow usage, because the thing is, so the idea is that this maintenance guy uses this wheelbarrow indoors, and he's insecure about it. He's worried it bothers people. Because people will think it's dirty. And he's like, don't worry, I keep the wheelbarrow inside all the time. Like, it's an indoor wheelbarrow. But then, like, later he's caught using it outdoors.
Please don't tell anybody my wheelbarrow's outside. Things have just been so crazy, and I just fucked up.
And that's what I love about Tim Robinson's stuff, and who, you know, all his Zach Cannon and the creative team is, it would bother me if somebody was using a wheelbarrow outdoors and then took it inside. But I don't think about that. Like, it's not like I spend a lot of time thinking about, man, I hope everyone keeps the wheelbarrows outdoors. But like, then somebody brings it up. I'm like, oh yeah, that would kind of bother me if like dirt was all over the place. And I love that his work kind of brings that stuff out where you don't even, think about it. But it's there. It's latent. He's activating latent parts of my lizard brain I didn't even know I had. Patrick Klepek, any scenes or moments you want to highlight from the first episode?
Well, part of by having an extended runtime, you can have payoffs that don't have to be immediate, right?
Yes.
Like, so
Yes.
My favorite tiny joke is the deviled egg getting paid off, where he's like, he's so mad that they keep trying to take, and everyone's again, the relatable parts, right? Like, everyone has been at a restaurant and there's like one last part of an appetizer out,
and the waiter tries to take it away. They're like,
no, I'm going to get to that. Like, you're in the middle of a story, or you're finishing up something else, and you're going to get to it, and you have to shoo them away like 3 different times. Maybe eventually you take it and put it on your plate, so no one will touch it. It's a very funny, relatable moment, and they could have just left it there. Like, it was funny enough in the restaurant scene, and then there's a moment when he wants to go investigate the Chair Company's like abandoned offices, and he goes into the fridge, pulls out that deviled egg, and has just the most shit-eating grin on his face as he shoves that in his mouth and eats it, and then has an additional payoff by making him shit his pants in the middle of his excursion. So it's stuff like that where you can't do that in short form, but you can have layers of that in longer form storytelling and joke setups that make me really excited for where the show could go. And just, I mean, some jokes are more obvious than others, but when the guy comes to threaten him at the end, and then he's running away, and Tim Robinson is catching up, and he just slowly unbuttons his shirt so that he can let it fly, and he can run like a kid from Weapons, and Tim Robinson is left with this shirt, is just such a good visual.
Yeah, good stuff. Anyway, we're huge fans. We're obviously going to watch the rest of the show, and probably Patrick will record a bonus episode.
Absolutely.
When we get to the end of this one. So that's the Chair Company. If you enjoyed this and you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to Decoding TV on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. In the meantime, let us know what you thought of The Chair Company, decodingtv@gmail.com. Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.